We are starting today with Early Childhood and SEBL. We're excited to have some of our coworkers from the early childhood realm. So we're excited to be here today. And as I introduce myself, and then I will have the rest of our SEBL specialists introduce themselves. Mackenzie, do you want to start?
Sure. I'm Mackenzie Rydell, and I am the Region 1 SEBL, so I serve ESU 4, 5, 6, and also LPS. I'll pass it to Jill.
Perfect. Thanks, Mackenzie. I'm Jill Gunther, one of the other social emotional behavioral learning specialists, and I currently serve Region 2 and 3, so ESUs 2, 3, and OPS, and then ESUs 7 and 8.
And I'm Sarah Gentry. I cover Region 5 on the western side of the state, ESUs 13, 15, and 16.
Thank you guys for being here this morning and for joining us. And then we also are excited that we have our early childhood implementation facilitators. So I will have them unmute and introduce themselves, and then we will go ahead and get started. So Amy, would you like to do the honors to start?
I can. I'm Amy Caldwell-Williams, and I am the Early Childhood Implementation Facilitator in Region 1, which serves ESUs 4, 5, 6, and LPS.
I'm Matea Addison. I am the Early Childhood Implementation Facilitator for Region 3, so I serve ESUs 1, 7, and 8.
And I am Sam Thorell, and I am also an early childhood implementation facilitator, and I serve Region 4, which is ESU 9, 10, 11, and 17.
And I think we have one more, Colleen Schmidt, and she's not able to join us today. She's from Region 2. I will say our early childhood implementation facilitators have the longest title on the NeMTSS team. So to hear them all say it, it's always great to have them join us, but I'm always reminded of that. So as always, when we start our Coffee Connects, we start with a welcoming inclusion activity. And hopefully maybe you're a TV watcher, or you've watched some game shows, or you've seen some of this. But this resource comes from First 5, which is amazing. It's an email to you every day, and it has a lot of wonderful resources. You can find that link in the PDF of the slides. But if you would like to unmute, or if you'd like to put it in the chat, of which TV show would you go on? So we have Survivor, Big Brother, The Traitors, which I've never heard of, so I don't know if anybody else has. Nailed It on Netflix, AGT, so America's Got Talent, Family Feud, Jeopardy, or Wheel of Fortune. So if you want to put in the chat your number, or if any of you would like to unmute and tell us which ones you would want to go on. And I see some Family Feud and Jeopardy, yes. Family Feud, nailed it. I love that. Wheel of Fortune, Family Feud, Wheel of Fortune, yes. Family Feud. You know, I remember the old days of Family Feud and the days with Steve Harvey of Family Feud, and Steve Harvey is just so funny. I think he's hilarious. So I love watching that. I would go probably Family Feud or Wheel of Fortune. So Jeopardy, awesome. Awesome, thanks for sharing. It's a great way just to get to know each other when we start out our activities together. So hopefully you're able to take this back and use it if you're not already. And thank you all for sharing. So we always put together a Padlet of resources for you, and today it's updated. If you click on the Padlet link, you can find the resources there. You'll want to make sure and use the password. It's all capital letters, NeMTSS. And then you can find early childhood and SEBL resources that we share throughout the presentation. You can also find just a lot of general resources and our previous Coffee Connects and our recordings. So we always try to make sure that this is available to you so that after you're done, and if there's some snippets of information that you would like to remember and to use, you can always go back to it. So We're excited today to talk about early childhood. And when we think about early childhood, we saw this quote and wanted to start the day off with it. When educators teach children the key skills they need to understand their emotions and the emotions of others, handle conflict, problem solve, and develop relationships with peers, their problem behavior decreases and their social skills improve. We know that emotions, that behaviors, those are all tied in. And so if we can work to help students understand at an early age, it just sets them up for such success. As we always define in our Coffee Connects, what is SEBL? And we say our definition of it is the systematic process of fostering social and emotional skills among students and adults in order to create a safe and supportive environment with positive behavioral and mental health outcomes for all. You'll see that we know in there that we have added mental health outcomes. We know that mental health is tied strongly to behavior and to social emotional. So we wanted to make sure and add that addition almost 2 years ago now. So it's been a little while, but we know that students cannot exhibit those positive behaviors if they don't have those social emotional skills, the tools they need to do that. So there's a variety of tools that we help schools implement, put into place through PBIS, through early childhood, through a variety of different strategies and resources. And so you'll see on the right hand of the screen, classroom expectations, school-wide expectations is always a place to start. Classroom expectations is a place to start. And we share a lot of different behavior matrix in our Coffee Connects. And today we're excited to share an example of an early childhood expectations matrix. And you'll see, we always want to make sure that we're doing things developmentally appropriate for the ages. And you'll see that this matrix uses pictures, it has words, but it's easier to understand for early childhood versus what you're trying to do if you're putting it together for a secondary school. So this is a great example from Johnson County Central. And so we're excited to share that as you're thinking about what is SEBL on your campus. Additionally, we have our skills web, and we redid this, and we'll dive a little bit more into that in our next slide. But our SEBL skills web, we know those are the skills that our students need to be good humans, to be successful inside and outside the classroom. And so those are the things that we build on. And then just remembering that mental health connection to behaviors and how that all plays together. So I said a little bit about our social emotional behavioral skills. We were able to redo our skills almost a year ago, maybe now, a year and a half ago, I feel like. And so we dove in as SEBL specialists to see how can we define this more to match what we were needing in Nebraska. And so you'll see the self-awareness is your top. We have self-management, problem solving, relationships, and pro-social behaviors. How we created this skills web is to help it be easily understood by all educators. So when we think about self-awareness, we want to always ask ourselves first, how do I know myself? How do I build those skills? That comes when we think about self-advocacy, strengths and interests, self-acceptance, emotional thoughts and behaviors. So when we look at this matrix, you'll see in this STARS web, you'll see how we have broken down each skill. We've asked a question and then broke it down into 4 areas. We also have dove in deeper in each of the skills is even broken down more. So if you ever want to have that resource, you can reach out to one of the SEBL specialists and we will be able to get that resource to you. So it's just a great way to think about how we can teach these skills in the classroom. So now I get the opportunity to turn it over to Amy. She is going to lead us through the rest of the presentation as she is our early childhood expert. So I'll turn it over to you, Amy.
Well, good morning. I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited also that Matea and Sam are joining, and if they've got things to add, certainly throw those in. It's also fun to see some of our Region 1 folks on the call today. So thank you for having us. It's always exciting for me to be able to talk about the early childhood aspects of all the work that we do. I think we're gaining some momentum in expanded interest in those early childhood initiatives and supporting preschool classrooms and Rule 11 and programs, community programs around the state. And so one of the tools that we use in Nebraska is the pyramid model framework. And it is a research-based, evidence-based framework that we use that aligns with our PBIS. So it doesn't replace school-wide implementation of SEBL foundations or restorative practices, or as I mentioned, PBIS. Instead, it's providing classroom practices which may have even been in place before K-12s were focused on PBIS and NeMTSS systems that and now we're really working to align and create that coherence with those approaches for implementation school-wide pre-K through 12. Teachers implementing the pyramid model implement universal practices for teaching rules and expectations, for building relationships and creating classroom communities. They use practices to promote and engage every student and families as well. They're acknowledging students for following expectations and rules, and the intentional integrated teaching of social emotional skills are all embedded in this framework as well. The pyramid model practices include tiers of support. So we've got the same tiers as we would have, or as we do have in NeMTSS, where we've got a solid tier 1 foundation for universal practices, and then tier 2 supports, as well as tier 3 supports. Teachers are prepared for their roles in their collaborative teams, and we're working really hard to create that coherence from pre-K on. We've linked lots of resources throughout this presentation for you, but specifically, you can find that pyramid model research by Mary Louise Hemmeter and the rest of the challengingbehaviors.org team and Florida linked in here as well. But we know that it's evidence-based research, that this model and framework is supporting social emotional development and preventing and addressing challenging behaviors. We've got kids who are coming to us with lots of needs, and we're wanting to be preventative and skill-based right at the beginning. And that's one thing that this pyramid model helps us to do. We kind of got into this in the last slide, but we do have this tiered pyramid model of interventions and strategies, starting with the foundation, just like we have in PBIS, where this is for all kids implemented with fidelity across all classroom settings, across all groups of students. And moving up the pyramid, then we've got a secondary prevention, providing more of that tertiary supports, some group supports for some students who are just needing more. And then all the way at the top are pieces that we have that really help to individualize that instruction and intervention. So just like we see in K-12. On this next slide, we'll use a little video, and I love this video because I think sometimes if we aren't typically in preschool classrooms, we may not really understand everything that happens in those settings, or the possibility or the trajectory of what kids can do if they're given the skills and taught those skills, and those skills are promoted and supported in a classroom. So we'll just we'll start this and give you an opportunity to see what's possible.
You're gonna make a robot? Talk with Jeremy and see if he's okay with that plan.
Hey Jeremy, let's make a robot. Well, when I say the one, I want some blue.
sounds like you guys have a problem. Gideon wants to make a robot and Jeremy wants to make a cookie party. What can we do? Let's think like Peter.
Maybe we can do both.
What do you think about that?
And hang it on the wall for the cookie one.
Will you talk to Gideon about that?
Can Gideon hang it on the wall? What are you doing?
But you guys were trying to decide whether to make a robot or a cookie party picture.
We can make both. Yeah.
Are you okay with that? Okay, so we had a problem. We said you wanted to make the robot cookie party, and you wanted to make the robot, and we thought like Peter and said, why not work together and make both? We used the play together solution, and it worked.
Because that's the uses. It's on my kit.
It is on the kit. There it is. Play together. I think we need to celebrate. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hands up.
Listen up.
Hands up.
Listen up.
Jeremy and Gideon had a problem. Jeremy wanted to draw a cookie party on the picture, and Gideon wanted to draw a robot, and they thought like Peter. What did you guys do? What did you say?
We said we can make both.
They used the play together solution to decide to draw both. We need to give them a truck driver hooray. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Honk, honk. Good job, buddies. Great job solving that problem, friends. Those were super friend things to do. I've got a super friend sticker for you.
I'm making a snowman.
Great job working together to solve that problem. You made a snowman? Awesome. You guys are.
I don't know about you, but every time I watch that video, I just kind of get excited watching the interactions between the kids, watching the interactions with their teacher. What are some of the things that you noticed in that snippet? You can unmute or pop things in the chat.
I loved how the teacher kept directing them back to communicating with each other. That was really good.
I also love that she celebrated with everybody and did the choral response and getting everybody's attention. It happened very quickly. It didn't take a lot of time. And those kids were able to share their accomplishment with everyone else.
Oh, go ahead. I was just thinking the same thing as Sarah. I just like the positive reinforcement and that it was a teachable moment for everyone, not just those two kiddos. So it was an example shared to all.
I see that Wendy put in the chat that the teacher served as a facilitator and not the problem solver. You may have noticed too that our little guy with his visuals on his wrist. So I'm guessing that he's working on some of his problem solving skills as an additional support and has some of those visuals with him to work through solving problems with his peers. And he referenced them. He was able to talk about which problem solving solution he was going to use. They worked together, lots of things that you mentioned that they celebrated. Notice also that they got a Super Friend sticker. So Super Friends is a support that we utilize in pyramid model. And so that acknowledgement with the sticker is something that they can wear home so that they're able to talk with their families later about what earned them the Super Friend sticker that day. So we'll unpack a little bit more of this in the following slides where we talk more deeply about pyramid model framework. So some of the basic assumptions that we just need to get out of the way, which are the same as we have for our kids in kindergarten and up, is that challenging behavior is usually a message We're, it's not just that kids are trying to hurt other children or be mean with their words. Usually that message is that they have some need that is not being met. So we know other variables might contribute to children's challenging behavior, such as lack of sleep, hunger, stress at the home, temperament, their own temperament, genetic factors, lots of different things that can impact the way children are behaving, just like adults. While children use that challenging behavior over time, they begin to understand that that behavior works for them. And therefore, they continue to use what works because they're ultimately getting what they want and what they need. Even if it's not a positive thing, we see this all the way through, but has really early beginnings in those behaviors. So there are a lot of things that we could do to promote that social emotional competence, such as having positive relationships with the children in the classroom, among the adults in the classroom, using schedules and routines, and some really basic things to keep things consistent and supportive. Okay. So we know that teachers report disruptive behavior as the single greatest challenge that they face. Preschool children are 3 times more likely to be expelled for behavioral issues than children in K-12. And you may have heard this quote before and the statistic before. It's staggering a little bit, but it does include things like soft suspension, sending home, and Amy's just having a hard day. But behavioral responses and disparities also exist across all the demographic groups and sub-demographic groups that we normally see. Nebraska put into law, well, there's the law that talks about, addresses school suspension in pre-K through kindergarten and all the way up through 2nd grade. Attached there, or linked there, is a brief that you can read all of the information that was provided by the research team at UNL regarding school suspension, and the law is listed on the next slide. So just some more information there. If you're needing more support or understanding in that, we can provide that as well. But I think for a lot of people, when that law came out, it was a panicky moment, and it's causing a lot of freeze, really, of, well, what are we going to do if kids are having these big challenging behaviors in our settings, our classrooms, and we can't send kids home? How is that going to work? And we know that sending home is sometimes meeting a need that they want to have fulfilled. And also it doesn't give them an opportunity to practice and utilize skill building opportunities to improve those behaviors. So we want to implement strongly and with fidelity pyramid model as a way to address those missing skills and also to continue to grow those skills for our youngest students. So as we look at the pyramid model, we think about all of the big pieces there are to teach in this. And today we're just touching the surface, as I know you do in Coffee Connect. So just little pieces. We could deep dive on any of these things. And if you're needing that support, just reach out. But to start with, it is the consistent and nurturing relationships that are critical for children and adults. During the pandemic, it brought forward that need to ensure that children had access to highly familiar, predictive, positive, warm, loving environments where they're surrounded by adults that are supporting their social emotional needs through nurturing relationships. And there's a strong likelihood that every child will need more more hugs, more attention, more care from adults and peers. And I think we continue to see that. It's something we're continuing to address. And the pyramid model puts that at the forefront of what the focus is going to be. I also want to say that everything in pyramid model is connected to our early learning guidelines, and through Division of Early Childhood supports. We always want to consider what level and types of skills are developmentally and individually appropriate for all of our children. We've got more information there from Gold and guidance from Gold and the guidelines. We want to make sure that we're considering family values and their cultural expectations when working with children and families. And family is a big part of pyramid model, that high level of family engagement. So we want to make sure that we're connecting with those families and hearing from them about the things that are important for their children in the classroom settings. And then from there, we look at what we want for all kids. So we embed those culturally responsive practices. And then as we look at all of the opportunities for teaching, we're looking at the environment, the positive caring relationships. Each member is supported and valued, and all of that moves us to this place of acceptance and belonging and membership. And I think I'm ahead of you on a slide. Sorry. Yep. All right, so what do we teach? Through the rest of this, we're going to focus on the pieces that are taught through implementing pyramid model. They look at friendship skills, social emotional literacy, self-regulation, and problem solving. So how do we share toys? How do we decide what we're going to do together? How do you make a friend? How do you engage with friends? They're going to look at how to start to regulate those emotions, because at about 3 and 4 years old, self-regulation skills start to come into being developmentally appropriate. So how do we grow those skills? And that begins with emotional literacy. How do kids even name what they're feeling? So they need to be taught all of those things. We know when we build strong friendship skills that children are able to initiate interactions with peers, share, give play suggestions, that they're able to practice reciprocity, taking turns both in things that they're doing together and in conversations and the way that they communicate back and forth with each other. They're able, when those skills are solid, then they're able to be helpers. They like to provide help. If you've spent much time with preschoolers, they want to help with everything and everyone and be a part of that. They've seen the benefit of being helpful. And I think even when we aren't aware of our body language and the way that we're communicating with preschoolers, when we see them help, they are aware of it. So they watch us nod and smile and get excited for seeing their participation in using those skills that they've developed. Children with these strong friendship skills are able to display affection and caring and empathy. They give compliments and are just proud as we support them. They get proud of being able to do those things, like we saw in the video, where they get to celebrate the use of these growing skills. So some of the tools that, and I should have said just from the beginning, using or going onto the challengingbehavior.org website, you will find just oodles of tools and visuals for classrooms. Everything is free. Everything is accessible. There are instructions on how to implement and use them. There are pieces that you can that connect to these very same things that you can send home to how could you do this at home using that same language. So creating some consistency in environments. But some of the tools here on this page focus on those friendship skills. They have some scripted stories, which are still not scripted to individual children, obviously, but just in how to promote being a super friend. What does it mean to be a super friend? You heard that in the video. Oh, you were a super friend today. What does that mean? Well, we teach kids what that means. There are books that they have an area called the Book Nook that focuses on various children's books and their connections to social, emotional, and positive behavioral supports. The solution kit was referred to in the video when our little guy said, we were working together. And the solution kit has visual cards and supports on how to create those problem-solving skills and visuals to support that, and also how to start using peer-mediated social skills, which are those stories down at the bottom. All of those are linked for you. When we're focusing on emotions, we're looking at specific words for emotions. We're teaching them that feelings can change. And so the way you feel in the morning may not be the way you feel in 10 minutes. That we can have more than one feeling about things. You can feel differently than someone else feels about things. And all feelings are valid. So all of those different, the depth of understanding ourselves and our emotions is something we begin very early on. We have a tool, there is a tool, there are multiple tools actually, on the same website. Some visuals on what emotions, our different emotions look like on the face. You can use them with check-ins. We can do a variety of activities. We could get into that more deeply, but the other piece that I think is important is really expanding on that social emotional literacy and teaching them emotions that are outside of the big five. Typically, we think of small children as being able to understand happy, afraid, feeling shy, angry, and sad. They are able to comprehend a whole wide range and should be exposed to all of those words and what those different feelings may look like, sound like, and how to recognize them in themselves and in others. So there's just a list of additional words that we would want to embed and continue to teach just to expand their emotional literacy. And when we think about when and how to teach, this is just like we would use in PBIS models that we're going to teach and practice skills when everybody's just calm and doing their thing. And we can prompt things that we want to see and hear ahead of any further escalation. When you start to notice that something may be going awry, we can prompt like the teacher did in our video where she said, what could we do to solve this problem? For her little guy with the visuals, that's his prompt to, oh, I have some solutions. And to utilize that escalation. That's not teaching time. It's just a let's get through this time and figure out the best ways to do that. And then afterwards to go back and teach and just continue to promote and give those opportunities to practice those skills. When teaching them in preschool, a lot like teaching any other age, we're going to describe it. Here we might show the visuals to support it as well, but I can tell you that even, and lots of you know these things too, even with early teens, there were times where I would say to my daughter, this is your face, and show her what her face was doing. And Tell me why that face is what I'm seeing. And here's what I think when I see that face. So these are things that we continue to use as kids learn and grow. So we describe the skill. Here we're going to show it, demonstrate a skill the right way. How could we use a solution kit? And then you might also demonstrate the wrong way and give those non-examples and have kids participate in that. Have kids practice with an adult, and then also expand that to starting to have kids practice together. And by practice, it really means that we could sit down and say, today we're learning how to share. And in our book that we've read, we've been talking about sharing, and we're going to practice sharing right now and set kids up to do that practice, giving them the words, giving them prompts, helping them to perform those skills, and then celebrating when they do. This goes just a little more deeply. We're teaching across the day. It just does not stop. There's an opportunity all of the time within classrooms to focus on what is going well, and to speak to the things that teachers and the adults in the room are observing and noticing. We, however, will also prioritize those intentional opportunities of explicit instruction, creating engaging activities, whether that is in changing up your centers, changing reinforcers, giving different opportunities for children to help. Maybe they have classroom jobs that they're going to switch around so that kids can be engaged in those things. Making everything in preschool is social. So wanting to learn how to invite people over, how to group and regroup, how to interact, so that the social skills are embedded throughout everything they do. And then again, when not to teach, when they're angry. We use the 5-to-1 ratio in preschool as well, looking at ways that we can give positive descriptive feedback to children as they're going through their day. We know that that influences their emotional and cognitive and social development skills. It's creating a secure relationship with adults. It strengthens positive peer relationships, reduces behavior problems, develops positive self-esteem, and improves child engagement. So all the very same reasons we're doing this in K through 12, we want to make sure we're in that ratio in our preschool settings as well. Additional tools that you can use to support that are here with the one piece that's added on this one is the Calm Down poster, looking at different ways to help teach that skill of self-regulation. It might come in the form of a cozy corner, a place just to go be off on their own, to calm down, and you'd have all of your visual and any other tactile supports in that area. We, of course, have to teach kids how to do that and how to use that space. But we have lots of tools to do that. In everything that we do in preschool, we're wanting to convey this message that this is a good, safe place to be in. You are a part of this community and belong here. When you don't want to be with other people, there's a space to go be by yourself too, and that's okay. And you're able to explore here and learn on your own, because we've created a space where it's safe to use the tools and to try things, and we've got lots of ways that we're letting children be the decision makers, and giving children an opportunities for their own direction. That all comes down even into, we talk about the environment is the third teacher. And in our environments, Eckers is very specific about what they're looking for in environments. We know that we need things to be accessible. We need a cozy area, interest centers that are changed routinely, soft furnishings in the classroom, and space for privacy, and again, substantial amount of softness, and just to create coziness and comfortable. We want kids to be comfortable in their space. Linked on that slide too are the environmental rating scales, the Eckers pieces, if you want to dive more deeply into what those other furnishings might look like. And that takes us to our resources page. Lots of resources there, lots of resources that are not there. And if you are looking for more resources, reach out. We're happy to support you and help with anything, and also to make the connections and to create that coherence across your building or district.
Okay, now it's my turn to kind of wrap things up. Thank you, Amy. That was awesome. So much information and great resources. Quick overview for everybody on Pyramid, but definitely reach out to your early childhood. I can't say their whole title because it's so long, but reach out to your early childhood person and your expert if you have more questions or thoughts. In the meantime, we wanted to make sure that we have a reminder. We've got our spring 2025 events posted and ready to go. So go ahead and if you register on there, you register for all, you'll just get a reminder. Everything's free. So we love to have you. We'll be doing check-in, check-out in March. So we hope that you guys can join us. Then we have our SEBL Coffee Connect, save the date. You want to write down those dates. We've got lots of awesome topics coming up. I know we're doing putting the B in SEBL in January. We're going to do school safety. We've got all kinds of different great things coming in the next few months of Coffee Connects. We'd also appreciate it if you could go ahead and complete an exit ticket. We do take your feedback very serious. We love to hear from you what you're thinking and what we can do to be better service for you. And then on to our optimistic closure. In the spirit of early childhood, we thought it would be fun to do maybe a little visualization mindfulness with all of you, and just have you kind of take yourself back to a place in your childhood where you have a memory where you were just feeling just joy. It's that time of year where things are really stressful, but we're all seeking joy. So maybe take ourselves back to that youthful place of joy, and reflect on what is it that you see? What do you hear when you're in that place? Do you smell anything? I know when I think of joy, I always think of my grandma's house, and there's always really yummy smells coming out of that kitchen. So can always think of that. How are you feeling in that place, and what do you taste if there's anything to taste? So just a quick and easy visualization. We like to bring you back to places that might help you experience joy and start your day off on the right foot. And then our next slide is just a quick reminder of who we all are. If you are interested in reaching out, our emails are linked there for additional support or whatever we can do for you. And if you happen to know anybody that lives near ESUs 1, 7, or 8 that would be interested in becoming an SEBL specialist, please send them our way. We are recruiting actively.